ignite a physiological storm, elevated heart rate, vasoconstriction, blood thickening, all of which make the perfect setup for a clot to form and travel to the brain. This isn't just about stroke. Morning overload contributes to anxiety, poor emotional regulation, high blood pressure, even impaired decision making. In other words, the way you start your day shapes the cortisol awakening response, explained your brain's entire rhythm. And the good news is you can change it. There are research-backed brain-based ways to protect your cardiovascular system, sharpen your focus, and reduce your emotional reactivity just by adjusting one habit in the first 15 minutes of your day. In this video, we're going to uncover the 6 science-backed insights that explain why your morning habits matter more than almost any other time of day, and what to do instead. We'll explore the hidden neurological storm that occurs right after waking, the morning behaviors that spike clot risk and blood pressure and how to reverse them, why your phone might be your brain's worst enemy before 8:00 a.m., a simple calming protocol that strengthens your nervous system in 5 minutes flat, the overlooked hydration mistake that thickens your blood and raises your risk, and how morning light, or the lack of it, determines your stroke risk, mood, and mental clarity for the rest of the day. If you've been feeling wired, foggy, or out of rhythm lately, or if you simply want to optimize your long-term brain and heart health, this may be the most important 20 minutes you spend today. Let's get into it. Have you ever wondered why some mornings you wake up feeling alert, focused, maybe even a little tense without any clear reason? What's happening is deeply biological. Your body is hardwired to release a powerful burst of cortisol within the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking. It's called the Cortisol Awakening Response, and it's not a flaw. It's a survival mechanism. This cortisol spike is meant to energize you, to elevate blood sugar, stimulate alertness, and prepare your cardiovascular system to face the demands of the day. But here's the catch. If this spike is met with additional stressors like sudden noise, mental overload, negative news, or emotionally triggering content, it can compound into what researchers call sympathetic overactivation, a state where your nervous system believes you're under threat. A 2010 paper published in Psych Neuroendocrinology showed that individuals with elevated morning cortisol, especially when paired with chronic stress or emotional reactivity, had a significantly higher risk of cardiovascular disease. And in another study from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, researchers found that exaggerated CR patterns were correlated with arterial stiffness and higher blood pressure. Here's why that matters. Cortisol doesn't just wake you up, it constricts blood vessels, thickens blood, and increases clotting factors. That's helpful in a life or dead situation. But if you're sitting in bed, blood pressure surges and stroke, timing doom scrolling, or reacting to emails before your feet even touch the floor, you're forcing your body into high-limit mode without any physical outlet. It's like flooring the gas pedal while the car is still in park. To make this more relatable, think of cortisol like your body's built-in cup of coffee, but with a twist. When paired with anxiety-inducing inputs, it becomes more like an energy drink with a shot of adrenaline. It may feel productive, but underneath it's destabilizing your heart rate, your emotional balance, and even your brain's decision-making circuits, especially in the prefrontal cortex, which governs logic and impulse control. So what can you do? A simple tool is to create a buffer zone between waking and stimulation. Give your nervous system 10 to 15 minutes to stabilize before exposing it to external input. This could mean delaying phone use until after light exposure or breath work. Doing 5 rounds of box breathing. Inhale 4 seconds, hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4, to calm the autonomic system. Gently stretching or walking barefoot outside to let your brain transition into the day with safety cues, not perceived threats. Here's what the research shows. By managing the first 15 minutes of your day, by respecting that cortisol surge rather than pouring fuel on it, you can dramatically reduce your blood pressure variability, lower systemic inflammation, and improve heart rate coherence. It's a small shift, but it's foundational because how you wake up sets the tone for everything that follows, not just physically, but emotionally, cognitively, and even socially. In the next section, we're going to look at a more direct trigger of stroke, the morning blood pressure surge, and how something as simple as how you get out of bed can influence your vascular risk. But before that, if this information is helping you rethink your morning, hit the subscribe button. This channel is here to help you translate complex science into daily life, changing practices. Let's keep going. Here's a fact most people don't know. Nearly half of all strokes happen between 6:00 a.m. and noon, and that's not a coincidence. There's a sharp physiological shift that occurs in the body upon waking, and one of the most dramatic changes is in your blood pressure. Right after you open your eyes and stand up, your blood pressure can jump by 10 to 20 mm of mercury almost instantly. This rise is known in cardiology as the morning blood pressure surge. And for many people, especially those over 50 or with metabolic dysfunction, it's not just a rise, it's a spike. What's going on here? When you go from lying down to standing up, gravity suddenly pulls blood away from your heart and brain. To compensate, your body activates the sympathetic nervous system, triggering vasoconstriction, narrowing of blood vessels, and speeding up your heart rate. This helps stabilize blood flow to your brain. In healthy people, this is a smooth transition, but in people with stiff arteries, poor endothelial function, or chronic stress, the response is exaggerated. A 2006 study in hypertension research showed that exaggerated morning blood pressure surges were independently associated with silent cerebral infarctions, many strokes that damage brain tissue over time without causing obvious symptoms. And in 2011, Japanese researchers found that people with the largest morning surges had a 3x higher risk of stroke compared to those with more stable early-day blood pressure profile. Here's the metaphor. Imagine a garden hose. If digital overload, the phone habit that hurts you, it's old and stiff, and you suddenly crank the pressure to full blast, the hose might burst or at the very least leak. Your arteries work the same way. And unfortunately, most people unknowingly crank the pressure every morning, not just by standing, but by rushing, panicking, multitasking, or skipping hydration. So, how do we fix this? One protocol is what I call the slow upright method. Rather than bolting upright the moment you wake up, try this. Lie still for 30 to 60 seconds. Take a few deep nasal breaths. Roll to your side. Let your legs dangle for a moment and sit up slowly. Spend 30 seconds seated, hands in your lap, eyes closed or adjusting to the light. Let your blood pressure stabilize before standing, then stand slowly with awareness of your breath and posture. It might feel overly gentle, but physiologically it gives your baroreceptors, the pressure sensors in your arteries, time to recalibrate. You're signaling to your nervous system, we're safe, we're steady, bonus tool. If you want to further reduce morning BP spikes, expose yourself to natural light within the first 30 minutes of waking. Morning light, especially blue-enriched sunlight, helps anchor your circadian rhythm and reduces cortisol volatility and BP variability across the day, as shown in a 2019 paper from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And remember, stroke risk is not just about age or genetics. It's about daily load, and the first hour of your day carries more physiological weight than most people realize. Now, we'll explore a modern threat that pours gasoline on this fire. The habit that hijacks your nervous system, short-circuits your attention, and raises your stroke risk by increasing clotting factors and stress reactivity, your smartphone. But first, if these science-backed tools are resonating with you, tap that like button. It helps this message reach more people who want to take their health into their own hands with clarity, not fear. Let's move forward. Let's be honest. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? For over 80% of adults, the answer is check their phone. Emails, texts, news, markets, notifications. Before the feet hit the floor, the mind is already flooded with external input. Now, from a neuroscience perspective, that habit might be the most biologically jarring way to start your day. Here's what's happening under the hood. When you check your phone first thing in the morning, you're exposing your brain to blue light, cognitive load, and emotional triggers all at once. This triple combination immediately activates the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, and hijacks your default mode network, pulling you into reactive thought loops. But it doesn't stop there. Your phone also ramps up sympathetic nervous system activity, the branch responsible for fight or flight. This results in increased heart rate, blood pressure, blood viscosity, and even elevated platelet aggregation, meaning your blood becomes more prone to clot. This is a huge deal for stroke risk. In a 2014 study from Psychosomatic Medicine, participants who experienced social media-induced stress in the morning had measurable increases in inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha, known to elevate cardiovascular risk. And a 2021 meta-analysis in Digital Health found that early-day screen use correlated with significantly higher heart rate variability suppression, a sign of nervous system imbalance and reduced recovery capacity. Let's break it down in simple terms. Think of your brain like a sponge when you first wake up. Dry, open, absorbent. The first thing you expose it to soaks in deeply. If you start with chaos, stressful headlines, work problems, or comparison field content, you've essentially programmed your entire system to default to anxiety and urgency before you've even taken a breath of fresh air. But there's more. This kind of digital stress impairs the function of your prefrontal cortex, the brain's command center for focus, reasoning, and self-control. That the 5-minute morning reset protocol means you're starting your day in a state where it's harder to regulate your emotions, harder to make smart decisions, and easier to react impulsively. Now, imagine doing that every single day, especially during the biological cortisol surge and blood pressure spike we already discussed. You're stacking stress on stress, priming the conditions for inflammation, vascular damage, and stroke. So, what's the tool? Here's a simple protocol I call no input before output. For the first 30 to 60 minutes of your morning, avoid phones, screens, emails, or external input. Start with internal output instead. Breath work, movement, journaling, meditation, or natural light exposure. If you need tech for music, a workout, exposure, use it intentionally, not reactively. Turn off notifications, curate your inputs. Think of this time as your neural clean slate. You're setting your brain's tone for the day, and you want that tone to be calm, centered, and responsive, not chaotic and reactive. The question for you, have you ever noticed how a single morning text or news headline can throw off your entire mood? That's not weakness, that's neurobiology, and the good news is you can protect yourself with structure. Now, I'll walk you through a powerful yet simple 5-minute morning reset protocol that trains your body to shift into parasympathetic dominance, reducing blood pressure, calming the nervous system, and building long-term resilience. But before we go there, if this is helping you reclaim your mornings and your mental clarity, consider subscribing. I bring you science-backed protocols like this every week, grounded in neuroscience and built for real life. Let's dive into the reset, At this point, we've seen how your morning biology is like a tightrope. Cortisol spikes, blood pressure surges, digital overload, all making your cardiovascular and nervous systems highly reactive. But here's the empowering part. You can flip that script, and it doesn't require a complete life overhaul. You need just 5 intentional minutes to shift from sympathetic overdrive to parasympathetic control, the rest, digest, and repair state. And when you do this first thing in the morning, it has a compounding effect on your vascular tone, inflammation levels, emotional regulation, and even your cognitive function. Here's a protocol that blends neuroscience, cardiovascular physiology, and circadian alignment. Backed by research and easy to remember, the 5-minute morning reset protocol. Step 1, hydration plus minerals, 1 minute. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your body is naturally dehydrated. Blood plasma volume drops, which increases viscosity. Thicker blood means higher stroke risk. Start your reset with 8 to 12 Oz of room temperature water, ideally with a pinch of sea salt or electrolytes. This rehydrates your system, supports blood volume, and sends a signal of safety to your hypothalamus. A 2020 study in Nutrients found that mild dehydration increased sympathetic tone and elevated heart rate and perceived stress within just 20 minutes, so this step is critical. Step 2, breath control to lower BP 2 minutes. Breathing isn't just about oxygen, it's a remote control for your vagus nerve. Here's the pattern. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly for 6 to 8 seconds. Do this for 10 to 12 cycles. Why longer exhales? Because they activate the parasympathetic system, lowering heart rate and relaxing blood vessels. Research in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience 718 showed that slow, controlled breathing reduced systolic blood pressure by up to 10 points in hypertensive adults in under 5 minutes. Step 3, morning light exposure. Go near a window or ideally step outside. You want natural light hitting your eyes without sunglasses or glass between you and the sky. This activates intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells in your eye, which sends signals to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, your body's master clock. In a 2017 Stanford study, morning light exposure was shown to improve blood pressure regulation, cortisol rhythm stability, and mood throughout the day. Bonus morning light also increases dopamine production, which improves motivation and focus, all while reducing stroke inflammatory markers. Optional add-on gentle movement or stretching. If you dehydration and hemoconcentration risks want to take this further, add a light stretching routine or walk around your space. Movement enhances blood flow, endothelial function, and increases nitric oxide, a natural vasodilator. Now here's what you've just done in 5 minutes. Rehydrated your system and reduced blood viscosity, activated your parasympathetic nervous system, stabilized cortisol and heart rate, anchored your circadian rhythm, signaled to your brain, we're safe, we're steady, we're in control. Compare that to the default morning, jolting awake, checking the news, skipping hydration, rushing to the kitchen, and it's clear. This tiny habit stack doesn't just protect your heart and brain, it recalibrates your entire physiological state. And remember, the brain loves repetition. The more days you repeat this reset, the more your autonomic system learns that calm is your new default. Now, we'll cover something that often gets missed, yet is deeply important. How lack of morning hydration thickens your blood, increases stroke risk, and silently taxes your cardiovascular system all day. But before we move on, if this reset is something you plan to try tomorrow morning, drop a quick comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear how it works for you. Let's continue. Here's something almost no one thinks about when it comes to stroke: the thickness of your blood. During the night, your body loses fluids through respiration, sweating, and urine production, even if you don't notice it. This causes your blood volume to contract, concentrating red blood cells, platelets, and clotting proteins. The result, your blood becomes viscous or thicker, and that alone increases the likelihood of clot formation. This process is called hemoconcentration, and it peaks in the early morning hours. In fact, a 2001 study published in the American Journal of Hypertension found that morning blood viscosity was significantly higher than in the afternoon even in healthy adults, and higher viscosity was strongly correlated with increased blood pressure and clotting tendency. Now, combine that with the other morning stressors we've discussed, cortisol spikes, blood pressure surges, and sympathetic activation, and you get what some researchers refer to as a perfect storm for vascular events. Here's an analogy. Imagine your arteries are city streets. Blood is the traffic. In the morning, the roads are already narrower due to vasoconstriction. And now we're packing the traffic lanes more tightly, thicker blood, while also increasing the speed limit, higher heart rate. That's a high-risk setup for a jam or worse, a crash. But there's a simple science-backed way to fix this. Begin your day with structured hydration. Here's the protocol: 8 to 12:02, 140 to 350 ml of room temperature water within 10 minutes of waking. Add a pinch of sea salt or a few drops of a high-quality electrolyte solution. This replenishes sodium, magnesium, and potassium, which are critical for vascular tone and cellular hydration. Bonus, add a squeeze of lemon for flavor and a gentle alkalizing effect. A study in Clinical Hemerology and Microcirculation 2010 showed that properly rehydrated subjects had improved blood flow velocity and reduced clotting risk markers just 30 minutes after fluid intake. And don't be fooled by coffee alone. Caffeine acts as a diuretic, meaning it can further dehydrate you, especially if consumed before water. If you're reaching for caffeine before hydration, you're amplifying the dehydration-stroke risk connection. But this isn't just about stroke prevention. Hydration also improves mental clarity, mood regulation, and metabolic function. Your brain, which is nearly 75% water, relies on proper fluid balance to transmit signals, regulate temperature, and maintain blood-brain barrier integrity. So, a quick self-check. Do you start your day with water or with stimulation? Because every morning you skip hydration is a morning your blood gets thicker, your arteries more stressed, and your brain more vulnerable. And here's the empowering part. This is one of the easiest habits to change. You don't need a supplement. You don't need a new routine. Just a glass of water placed beside your bed, ready to restore fluid balance and protect your brain. In the final section, we'll tie everything together by examining a powerful yet often neglected factor, morning light exposure, and how it acts as a master light, circadian rhythm, and vascular health regulator of stroke risk, blood pressure, mood, and even inflammation. And if you've made it this far and you're gaining value, consider sharing this with someone you care about. These are simple tools that could genuinely save lives. Let's finish strong. When most people think about stroke risk, they think about cholesterol, genetics, or blood pressure. Rarely do they think about sunlight, but your exposure or lack of exposure to natural morning light may be one of the most overlooked levers for reducing stroke risk and optimizing your cardiovascular system. Here's why. Your body runs on a 24-hour internal clock called the circadian rhythm, and the master timekeeper of that rhythm is a tiny part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And this structure relies almost entirely on light signals, particularly blue spectrum light from the morning sun, to synchronize every major system in your body: your heart rate, hormone secretion, digestion, immune function, even gene expression. Now, here's where things get interesting. When your circadian rhythm is out of sync, say because you don't get enough light in the morning or you're exposed to artificial light at the wrong time, it throws off your vascular tone, blood pressure rhythms, and inflammatory patterns throughout the day. In a landmark study published in The Lancet in 2010, researchers found that circadian misalignment caused by insufficient morning light exposure led to dysregulated cortisol rhythms, elevated nighttime blood pressure, and impaired endothelial function, all of which increase stroke risk. And in a 2019 paper from Frontiers in Physiology, early morning light exposure was shown to stabilize blood pressure, reduce proteinary cytokines, and enhance the expression of clock genes that regulate cardiovascular repair. Put simply, morning light is medicine. It tells your brain it's daytime, it's safe, let's regulate. This leads to a healthy rise in cortisol, not a chaotic spike, improved melatonin in production that night, and better blood vessel elasticity during the day. But here's the problem. Most people wake up indoors, check their phones in bed, and then spend the next 2 hours under dim artificial lighting. By the time they go outside, the circadian window for light entrainment has already passed. So, what can you do? Here's a practical circadian-aligned protocol. Within 30 minutes of waking, go outside for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Even on cloudy days, outdoor light is 10x stronger than indoor lighting. Don't wear sunglasses or look through glass. Let the natural light reach your eyes directly without staring at the sun. If you can't go outside, open a window face east or use a circadian light box with 10-0 lux intensity. Bonus, pair this with your breath work and hydration, and you've now activated 3 powerful stroke prevention levers simultaneously. And one more benefit, morning light improves mood by increasing dopamine and serotonin in activity. This explains why light therapy is used clinically for depression and seasonal affective disorder, both of which are also linked to increased cardiovascular risk. So ask yourself, am I starting my day in alignment with nature or against it? The good news is your biology is incredibly adaptable. Every morning is a new opportunity to signal to your brain and body, I'm safe, I'm calm, and I'm in rhythm. In the final section, the conclusion will tie all 6 insights together, recap the most powerful tools, and leave you with one simple challenge that could transform your mornings and protect your brain for life. Let's take a breath, because what we've uncovered in this video is more than a warning about stroke risk. It's a window into how our mornings silently shape our health, mood, and performance. We began with a striking fact. Nearly half of all strokes occur between 6 a.m. and noon, not because of bad luck, but because of biology. In the early morning, your body is transitioning out of sleep and into a high-limit state. Cortisol surges, blood pressure rises, your blood becomes more viscous, and your brain becomes hypersensitive to stress. It's a vulnerable window, and yet most people unknowingly load it with exactly the wrong inputs. We dove into 6 powerful science-backed insights that explain why your morning habits matter more than almost any other part of your day. The Cortisol Awakening Response, a natural spike in stress hormones designed to energize you, but one that becomes dangerous when met with chaos or overstimulation. The morning blood pressure surge, a rapid physiological event that, if unmanaged, can dramatically elevate stroke risk, especially when combined with dehydration or sudden movement. Digital overload. How checking your phone immediately after waking triggers sympathetic overdrive, increases clotting risk, and impairs emotional regulation. The 5-minute reset protocol. A short but powerful routine to downshift your nervous system, stabilize morning routine, recap and action plan your physiology, and start your day from a place of control and clarity. Hydration and hemoconcentration, the hidden danger of thickened blood after sleep. And how simply drinking water with electrolytes can reduce clotting risk and boost brain function. Circadian light exposure, how morning sunlight entrains your internal clock, reduces inflammation, stabilizes blood pressure, and protects your vascular system. Every one of these tools, from slow breathing to sunlight, sends a message to your brain: you are safe, you are steady, you are in rhythm. And that message matters because so much of chronic disease, stroke, anxiety, hypertension, even burnout stems not just from what we do, but from how we start the day. So here's your challenge. Tomorrow morning, try the full 5-minute morning reset. Drink a tall glass of water with a pinch of salt. Do 5 rounds of slow, controlled breathing. Step outside for natural light within 30 minutes of waking, and avoid your phone for the first 30 to 60 minutes. One morning, one reset, one decision to step out of reactivity and into rhythm. And if that one morning feels better, try 2, then 3, then a week. Because the real power here isn't just in lowering stroke risk. It's in reclaiming your mornings as a space of resilience, focus, and intention. Your training, final thoughts, and call to action your biology to work with you, not against you. So, if this message resonated, if you learned something today that could change how you approach your health, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone you care about. These small shifts might seem subtle, but science shows they can change the course of a life. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next